Today we will talk on the organization of the international trade. Um, basically, as always, we will talk on the overall, the trade theories, and overall views on the trade. But we will also talk on the specific issues and look to some data. As a starting point, I want to show you a video of Milton Friedman, which is basically on the overall idea of free trade and basically explains why free trade is beneficial to everyone. I hope you have watched the video and you have seen the main argument, the major arguments supporting the free trade. And those ideas are Friedman express ideas for international trade, but very well, those ideas mainly also come from the national trade also. Friedman expressed the main idea on why a country should be for free trade and how the free trade is basically benefiting its consumers in general. Of course, we have also the producer side, and from being someone who is selling its products to the selling its labor, his or her labor, or his or her resources to other people. We might also make certain decisions, and how actually people benefit when this producer and consumer sides are merged together is actually not that clear. Controversial, basically. There are some models that are actually bringing this producer and consumer sides together. And as a producer, I might not necessarily be for free trade because I might mainly first be protected from the free trade and basically develop my abilities at first, so that then I will be able to compete with let's say larger companies. And it might also very well possible that the fact that I'm not able to compete with those companies at first might not be my fault. It might be because up to the point when I have a large number of buyers available, it might not be possible for me to basically compete with those companies, even if I am very productive and innovative. So that's a possibility. And how this producer and consumer sides of the people are merged together is a big question. As I said, there are models, but those models are based on certain assumptions, and those assumptions, some of them can be questioned actually, and when you question them, results may change in some cases. And also there is a time dimension. A country as a whole is better off if it is able to produce more expensive products with its workers and with the people who are employing those workers, basically with its companies. However, in order to develop these abilities, the question is, according to some economists at least, restrictions of free trade is necessary for a while. While some economists think maybe it's not that much necessary, actually free trade is necessary to develop the increase the productivity of the workers and companies in a country. So, but that's a discussion. So, not necessarily. I mean, there are significant objections in the especially development economics to the idea that free trade is the best possible option for any country, basically. And as I said, those views have a logic. They are not completely based on the, political pressures, basically, and just some weak arguments, basically. And in order to see actually why those arguments can be sometimes powerful also academically, you should note that actually, again, besides the role of people take as producers, also in some cases social level of development might be, at least there are arguments that it might be more complex and something more than when we look individual level of development. So when people are inside of a society, in some cases certain rules that restrict each other, even in economic sense, even in terms of the goods they can buy cheaper from somewhere else, might bring some benefits to the people of that society. They might be better off as a result of these restrictions. At least there are views supporting this these type of let's say arguments, and there are also some models and some theories that are supporting these type of arguments. Well, as a starting point, we might tell that Smith, we might start with Smith, basically, who was pretty much proponent of free trade. He argued free trade allows countries to specialize in the production of the goods and services in which they are more productive. Instead of producing everything they need for production, for everything they need for living, at individual level, this helps in a town certain people to be carpenters, certain people to be, for example, weavers, and as a result, people who are only doing weaving are able to get experience, are able to get machines, don't need to stop and do metal work, just continuously doing weaving. All of these things, according to Smith, increase the productivity. When more people do the weaving, for example, whole village does the weaving, because they are able to trade the clothing with other products from other places. In that case, now people might specialize on certain tasks related to weaving. So they divide the labor even more, and as a result, productivity might increase even more. So trade increases the productivity because it divides the labor between different type of production activities, according to Smith. Ricardo more or less has the same idea. He also argues that basically, different countries have advantage in producing different products. For example, Portugal might be in Portugal. basically production of grain might be relatively cheaper than the UK or England, or in England the production of, let's say, computers might be cheaper than in Portugal. And basically, according to Ricardian theory, the cost of goods are measured how much of other goods we are giving up for producing them. For example, cost of grain is calculated by cost of the computers you need to give up. So cost of the computers is calculated by looking how much grain we give up to produce one more computer, and inevitably, inevitably, all countries have advantage in production of certain goods. I mean, England might be more productive in production of both grain and computers, but in the end, if England needs to spend to give up two computers to produce one more ton of let's say grain, and Portugal needs to give up just one computer to produce one more ton of grain. In that case, Portugal will be more advantageous, relatively more advantageous in production of grain. If it's the other way around, for example, if Portugal needs to give up 3 computers to produce one more ton of grain, in that case the cost of producing computers in terms of grain will be lower in Portugal. In that case, one computer will cost 1/3 of the 1/3 ton of grain in Portugal, but in England it will cost 1/2 ton of grain. So every country has a comparative advantage in production of at least some goods. As a result, and whichever good is relatively cheaper with respect to others in a country, the country should focus on that particular good, on which its relative productivity is higher, and sell that good to the other countries and buy the goods in production of which it is disadvantageous. If production of the 1 ton of grain costs one computer in England, but two computers in England, but one computer in or let's say 3 computers in Portugal. In that case, basically, the Portugal might not produce the grain. Instead, let England produce grain and buy grain from England by paying 2.5 units of computer per grain per ton per a ton of grain, basically. Of course, that means you buy 2 tons of grain by paying 5 computers, basically. So, as a result, your advantages. You buy in terms of computer. Now, the grain you buy becomes cheaper. Malthus has famously been against this idea, and that he might be one of the. He's relatively an early economist who formulated the idea why trade might be harmful, and in his view, the main point was the dependency. When you allow free trade, basically, the country might depend, and especially certain critical goods like food, on other countries, and there can always be cases where the other country might have a bad harvest, or even you might have a war, and the other country might not be able to supply that good to you. And in that case, without a national industry, you just are not able to have that product.